Hi there. Welcome to our next video on Office 365. Today we're going to cover the admin console, the main administration section of Office 365. We're going to go through each one of the menu options on the left side with some details on each one as well as just maybe an overview. So, without further ado, let's get started.
So let's start with the main page. This is where you have different tiles that represent areas that are available from the menu options on the left. Now you've got users, billing, service health, domains, and others. You can edit this, by the way. It doesn't have to stay looking like this. And the best way to edit it, you come down here and press Add. You'll get options of adding things to your page. So let's go into here, and you know what? I want to see the support stuff, so I'm going to click on support. All right, so that I've added that to it now. Now from here, you can then go around and you can actually manipulate and say, yeah, I want to move this up here. And how about domains? Let's move this a little bit closer in. Once you're done putting everything where you want it to be, you click Save, and voila. There's your main home page with all the tiles arranged just the way you like it. Okay, let's move on now to users. So we've got users here. Under users, we've got active users. These are people that you've added and given a license to utilize the services within within your Office 365 tenant. You can also add non-licensed users. And when would you do that? Well, best practice on a setup like this is to have regular users, even for yourself, to interact with the system on a daily basis. You would also then set up a global admin as an unlicensed user so that if there are any difficulties, that's the user account you'll use to go in and manage the system. Contacts? Well, contacts are people that are going to be external to your tenant. The nice thing about this, when you add a contact, this contact will show up in your gal. So if you're in Outlook and you want to send a message to somebody, when you click on the two, it'll bring up your gal. Not only will it include licensed users within your tenant, but it'll also include contacts, which is a great help. Next, you'll have guest users. Those are people that you give permission to access resources on a temporary basis. And then down here, you have deleted users. Now, when you remove a user from your tenant, that user's information will stay in there for about 14 to 30 days. When I say stay in there, I mean their mailbox data will stay. If for some reason you change your mind and you want to bring that user back, you would highlight them, click restore, and everything would come back within that 14-day period. Okay, let's move on to the next section, groups. Now, under groups, the first subsection here, this is where you're going to be able to create things like distribution lists and Office 365 groups. They are a little bit different. Distribution lists are really made for distributing email messages to the entire group. Instead of having to send a message to each individual member, you just send it to the group, and Exchange Online will disperse it to all the members of the group. Office 365 Groups goes a little bit beyond that, and it's a little bit beyond this particular presentation, but basically it allows you to do a lot more than just distribute email. The other section within here is shared mailboxes, and this is a great feature for small businesses because shared mailboxes don't require a license. So you can have several different shared mailboxes representing HR, sales, production, research and development. And the only thing you would need is a licensed user linked to those shared mailboxes so that user can monitor the mailbox and see the messages that are coming and going within that mailbox. It's a great feature available to small businesses and can make you look like a very large corporate. So a big fish in a big pond, so to speak. Okay, let's next move to resources. Now here you have rooms and equipment, sites, and public website. We'll start with rooms and equipment. Now rooms and equipment are exactly what it implies. Rooms or equipment that you as a company make available to your employees for them to use. Now, obviously, you can't have two people using the same piece of equipment at the same time or the same room at the same time for different functions or different reasons. So by setting up rooms and equipment accounts, you can actually use Office 365 to manage the schedule for the various rooms and pieces of equipment. People can go in, they can book for a day or a number of days, and then that would block off the availability of that piece of equipment or room to anybody else. You would need someone who obviously would manage that for you. The next thing here is sites. Let's take a look at sites. Now, sites are going to be internal intranet websites, internal to the company. Access to that website would be through a URL, but in order to gain access to that website, you would have to log in to take advantage of the resources. You'll find that these sites will be set up and be utilized with Office 365 groups, team sites that will link the website, which would be a web interface for that group, with Office 365 groups, as well as OneDrive file sharing. It's a way of grouping people together so that because they all have the same department or the same interests within the company. And then finally, we have public websites. Now, Office 365 no longer makes available public websites. You have to do that from outside of the tenant. And Microsoft has a partnership with GoDaddy and with Wix, and basically you would click on these links to go set up a website there. Once you set up your website, you would go back and you would set up an A record that would redirect requests for www.yourvanitydomain.com to your website. Okay, let's move on to billing. Now, under here we have subscriptions. And when we come into subscriptions, you'll see this one has expired. Now, I'll show you in just a couple of moments what we can do at this point. But this means that I've exceeded my 30 days of my free trial. And so it's now expired, reduced functionality. But if this wasn't expired, you would see some additional things here. We'll take a look at that when we come back, because I will extend this, and I'll show you how that's done. But you've got the subscription type. You've got licenses that have been purchased if you've purchased it. How many have been assigned? You can go ahead and come in here and do assign to users, descriptions, etc. There's more things available here if this was not expired, and we'll look at that in just a moment. Now, bills. You can actually see what your monthly bills are, and you can choose by month. So when you do this, click down, you can go last month, past 3 months, past 6 months, past year. You can specify a date range, but you can actually see your bills and you can download them. So that information is available to you right from within your tenant. Licenses, it's pretty much the same thing as under subscriptions, just not as comprehensive. It just shows you what licenses you have in your tenant, how many valid licenses, if there's any that are expired, and how many are assigned. Purchase services. If you wanted to add something to your tenant, let's say that you wanted to add Office Pro Plus or E3 or perhaps any one of these different additional services, you would come to the Purchase Services screen to do that. Now, one of the things I want to show you here is you can see I've got in trial here for Office 365 Business Premium. Now, when I move my mouse cursor over, look, I have the option to extend trial. So I'm going to click Extend Trial. And it's going to say, okay, can a trial? It'll be extended for by 30 days. Only one trial extension is allowed. So extending a trial extension requires that you provide your credit card information. We will not charge your credit card for the trial extension. Learn about why we request your credit card information. So click Next, and then you'd have to put your credit card information. Okay, so once you put your credit card information in, it says your trial has been extended by 30 days. Click OK. And we come back up to the Admin Center. And it looks like it's taking us back to home. And okay, here we go. So 30 days left. Okay, so let's go back to subscriptions and let's see what we have, what's changed now under here. Now you can see it looks very different. Okay, so you've still got licenses, you've still got assigned to users, but now you have this little button right here. So more actions. Add a partner of record or cancel trial. So if you wanted to buy now, you can just click on buy, or you can click on cancel trial. That's what it looks like when it's active, and that's how you can extend your trial yourself as a customer. Okay, next we're going to go through settings. And there's a couple different menu options here. We'll start with settings, services and add-ins. There is a lot here. These are the different services and add-ins that you can put into your Office 365 tenant: Azure multi-factor authentication, directory synchronization. Some of these things are products that would help a small business. Some of them, for example, directory synchronization is something that you would use if you had a larger organization on premise using Azure Active Directory and you wanted to link it to your Office 365 tenant. But this will be a separate video down the road because there is quite a bit here that you can add into your Office 365 account. Let's go to security and privacy. Here's where you can set the security options for your tenant. For example, password policy. If you click on edit, here you can actually set passwords never expire, or you can set they expire after so many days. So you can make that 60 days, 90 days. I've got it 730 here, which is a couple of years. So we'll close this. Next is customer lockbox. Not much there. This particular tenant doesn't have that option to it. Sharing. You can click here and enable your users to invite external guests to share organizational data. Most companies would probably turn that off because you want the IT department to control who can access what internal data resources. Let your people reset their own passwords. If you want to enable this and you click on Azure Admin, this is what it brings up: the Azure Cloud interface for your particular tenant. And then you would come down here to self-service password reset, and you would click that to enable it. So let's move on. Organizational profile. This is where you can set the details for your organization: the name, the address, the phone number, technical contact, the preferred language, release preferences, manage custom things. If you click on here, you can actually put a custom logo in this bar up here. You can have the logo click a URL that would take them to the website or a team site. You can select the background cover. You can customize this entire interface that your user would see when they log into your particular tenant. And then down here we have partner relationship. If you have purchased your tenant through a Microsoft partner, then that person would show up here. If you decide that you want to add a Microsoft partner to your tenant to manage this side of it for you, you would add them here. All right, so let's now move to setup. We've got three submenus here. First one is products. This is basically a list of the different subscriptions you have, the number of licenses in each one, and the available licenses for each one. You can see what the status is, as well as assign licenses. So when you go here and click on assign licenses, it will actually take you to where you can assign licenses, which is up here in active users. We go back down to setup and we go back to products. The other link on this page is migrate user mailboxes. So if we click on that, it actually takes you to the data migration link here. And from here you can upload PST files, you can migrate from Gmail, you can migrate from Hotmail, Yahoo, other email sources. Gives you information and details on how to do each. Migrating from Exchange Online, it gives you details on how to do each of those. So this is where you would go to learn how to take your on-premise data and migrate it up to Office 365. This third one here is domains, and we've already been through this one in one of our previous videos where you would add a domain, you could make it the default domain, etc. So that takes care of setup. Okay, let's move now to reports. Okay, and we're going to start with usage. Now, this particular page will give you usage for your different activities. This one here, you don't see a whole lot going on, but let me show you the usage of a tenant that does have activity. You can see that there's a graph up top that shows the different services and how active they've been. And then each one of those services are broken down individually: email activity, OneDrive files, SharePoint files. Not a whole lot going on for Skype for Business because I stopped using it a while back with respect to PSTN calling and so forth. The next section is security compliance, and in here you've got different reports that allow you to check the security and compliance of your tenant. Now, if we click on spam detections, this is what we'd come up with: an individual report specific to spam detections. Each one of these options will give you the same thing, the same looking interface, and it'll break down the specific information that you're looking for. Okay, our final section is going to be health. Here you have two submenus: Service Health and Message Center. Service Health is a tile on your main admin page. When you click here, it shows you the status of the different services within your Office 365 subscription. If you're experiencing any trouble with one of the services, my advice is to come here first. Take a look and see if there's an incident or an advisory. When you do that, you click on the advisory. It gives you the details about that advisory, when it started, when the next update is, when the expected resolution date is. That way, instead of taking time away from your business to call support and get on the phone with a concierge ambassador, you can continue working and then just come back here and monitor to see what the status is. Once everything's green, if you're still having a problem, by all means, jump right in and go ahead and get support. And we talked about how to do that. I'll show you that in just a moment here. And then Message Center. If you hear about something or read about something new to Office 365, and you want to know, is it available on my particular tenant, you can come here. And this will show you what's been added to your tenant and the date that it was added. So that way you can keep up with what's new and in your particular tenant. Now I want to show you, the last thing I want to show you is the option to get help from within Office 365. If at any time you're having a problem, it is so easy. Down here in the lower right, you see Need Help. When you click on that, up comes a dialog box where you can type in your issue. You can go ahead and click on Get Help, and what will happen is a concierge ambassador will call you back within 10 minutes to work with you on that issue. It's a great feature. It's a great service that Microsoft offers for free with your Office 365 subscription.
Wow, that was a lot to cover. The video went longer than I really wanted it to, but unfortunately, because there's so much in Office 365, I really wanted to touch on each individual section at least a little bit so that you can get an overview. What I am going to do is that on a couple of the sections, I'm going to do a separate video. I'm going to do a separate video on the different add-ins as well as the connection between Office 365 and the Azure Cloud management for Azure Active Directory. We're also going to take a closer look at some of the migration options. I'll do a separate video on that as well. But I hope that you found this particular one informative and helpful. And I hope that if you did, perhaps maybe you would consider donating to the cost of producing these videos. There's a link in the description that will take you to a donate page. There's also a link to subscribe. If you subscribe, you'll get the latest updates on new videos that we add to How To IT as well as Office 365 playlist. So join us next time where we're going to delve even deeper into Office 365. We'll talk about the software and connecting Outlook to Exchange Online. Until next time, take care.